Some breaking news out of New York, folks, where Sean Diddy Combs was back in federal court today.
This was Combs' first appearance before the new judge assigned to his case, and he had his 3 new attorneys with him.
All right, joining us now live is Court TV senior producer Emanuela Grinberg. She was inside that courtroom today in federal court for that hearing. All right, Emanuela, what were some of the key takeaways from today?
Hey, Michael and Ashley. The main takeaways we got today was now we have a tentative trial date, May 5th, 2025. This was something that Sean Combs' defense was very adamant about. They did not want to waive his speedy trial rights, and so they are proceeding on a path towards May 5th, 2025 trial date. Also heard from the government saying that their investigation continues and that they may actually file a superseding indictment. And you know what that means, more potential charges. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks as the exchange of discovery continues, as the investigation continues. This was a hearing really to just give the judge an update on, where everyone is and the status of the exchange of evidence and something, they were throwing out very large numbers about the amount of, terabytes of evidence that were seized in 3 different searches of Combs's homes and of himself earlier this year. And so really it was just a status update on where things are and what other requests the parties have at this point.
Emanuela, P. Diddy Combs, come on, everybody knows who that is. Tell us about that atmosphere. Yes, it's federal court. It's more formal, a lot of rules like no TV, no media in the courtroom. But having said that, who all was there? Who was watching? How did he react to his family? All of that.
Yes, I mean, this time, he had 2 rows of family there. And in this case, last time, at his bond hearings, his sons were present. This time, his daughters were present, as well as his mother. And there was just something a little more, he was excited, I guess, to see them. Last time, I think it was in the September bond hearings, it was just after he'd been arrested. He seems a little shell-shocked, I guess, for lack of a better word. But this time he came into the courtroom, he saw his family in the rows, he smiled very big, he waved at them, and then even after he sat down, he waved at them again. So it was a really surreal experience. It's always humbling. It's always interesting to see these stars in court. They humble themselves. It's a way we're not used to seeing them. And so, especially not used to seeing Sean Diddy Combs getting excited over seeing his family while he is dressed in a 2-piece jail-issued outfit. Wow.
All right, Emanuela, thank you so much for that report. Truly appreciate it. And speaking to that point of seeing him in that way, I remember seeing a quote from Sean Diddy Combs that he said he never wore the same clothes twice.
Oh, and now every day,
now
same
wear that little beige outfit.
Isn't that so? But then he is smiling and glad to see his family. And you heard initially reports of he's on suicide watch, and then they said no, anybody at this level of famous is on suicide watch. But to hear that demeanor is a little surprising.
Yeah, and you know what really is interesting? One of his new attorneys is Sam Bankman-Fried's attorneys, or Friedman's attorneys. Now, he's the guy who was involved in that crypto whole sort of shebang. And, it shows that these guys, they were off in a different part of the jail together. Yes. So they got to talking, and he said, you know what, I got a good lawyer for you.
Use this one. That's exactly what happens. All right, Emanuela Grinberg, great job there in federal court. We now want to bring in and get comments from trial attorney Krista Ramey, still with us. Thanks for sticking around to be on with both of us. Tell us your thoughts as you heard her report about what happened inside that federal courtroom today.
So I think it's pretty smart that the defense is not waiving their speedy trial rights. I think that there is an overwhelming amount of information we already know. The government is still, I think, trying to decrypt a lot of the terabytes of information that it received from all of P. Diddy's devices. So the government is going to be kind of like rushing a little bit. I understand that they're still getting subpoenas are being responded to still. So they don't even have all their evidence together yet. And so demanding a speedy trial really is going to force the government to get their act together really fast and not have that additional time. But I think that the government was also smart in not overcomplicating this case by making it much bigger than it needed to be. Like, for instance, what happened down in, y'all's neck of the woods in Atlanta with the YSL RICO trial that's going on. So, you've got a much simpler, indictment, 14 pages long, really one identifiable victim, but I think that there's probably others that are contained within it. So we'll see if that May date sticks. If there's superseding indictments, it's probably going to get continued, I would think, because there's just, that would automatically cause that to happen.
Yeah, that takes me to my next question. Krista, we heard from Emanuela that there could be these superseding indictments filed. What do you expect those to be, and what effect will it have on the possibility that this trial may go in May of next year?
Well, I think that the superseding indictments, I don't know if they'll necessarily be new charges against P. Diddy, maybe, or, maybe more identifiable victims, but I think that you're also going to maybe potentially see some co-conspirators that are identified that, played a significant role in, this vast conspiracy that's taken place over the course of the last 30 years. So, with other defendants involved, that can also, Sean Combs will be in less control over when this trial goes and how it plays out.
Well, let's talk, though, about the fact the feds don't play. I mean, generally, they don't bring a case until they have their ducks in a row and the evidence ready to go. And so I have to believe that, yes, some of those things might cause delays, and it's a great defense team. But I also think the feds are well prepared with evidence on hand to proceed against him.
Oh, yeah. They took their time on this. When you think about the timeline here, the Cassie lawsuit was filed last November, and then the raids were in March. During that whole time, you've got to imagine that there is some pretty intense investigation that's going on in order to get search warrants that happen at the same time in 2 different houses and 2 different coasts. So by March, they already had a lot of information that many people, myself included, that was sealed at that time. Of course, that wasn't true. And they got more information, obviously from his 2 homes. So, no, you're right, Ashley. The feds don't play, and they've taken a long time to get to this point. And they're not, having lots of press conferences running at the mouth either. They're going to let the indictment and then their work speak.
Yeah, and according to Emanuela's notes, today they did express the fact that they are ready to go. Whenever the judge puts a trial date, we're ready to go, Judge. So they're ready to go. They may be adding some stuff that could push it into the future, but as of right today, they said we're ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just talk really, really quickly about one of the things that happened yesterday in this case. And there was a victim who allegedly said she would pay off someone to basically testify in her behalf in millions. So what do you think that does to this case, if anything?
Okay, now that was for a different case. It's not for the federal case. It's for a civil case. She's suing him for money for rape and for distributing a tape of them raping her. It could do a couple of things. I think it affects her credibility. I also think it affects the credibility of all people who are brought out, because one of the refrains by his defense has been that, these people these are meritless claims. So that is a problem. But I can also say this. She may have been telling, and this was her ex-boyfriend, boyfriend at the time, that I'll pay you to testify. And basically $3 million, he might be reluctant to testify because he's afraid of what repercussions might come, not only from Diddy and his entourage, but also from Diddy supporters. We know that they've come out and been very vocal in favor of Diddy. So though that money could be for him to come in and testify and get over his fear of testifying.
But I also think the timing is something else, because that kind of message getting out there when you have a trial for criminal charges in federal court also says to people, hey, you can't believe what these victims are saying. They're making stuff up against me.
You've got things on both sides. Remember when they released that beating video?
Yes, the one that they're saying leaked.
Diddy's attorneys are claiming that the government leaked that to turn the tide against him. They may have had a hand in releasing this information to sort of, turn the tide back for him. So
exactly.
It's a lot of games being
There's
played.
a lot of stuff coming up, and Emanuela Grinberg is great covering that with all the details. So thank you again to her.
Am I the only one that didn't know about this? Diddy is in serious trouble. The trial against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is set for May 5th, 2025. Facing charges of sex trafficking and other serious offenses, Diddy has entered a plea of not guilty. This news comes as a shock to fans and the music industry alike. With a career spanning decades, Diddy has built an empire, but now it's all on the line. The charges include allegations of coercion and exploitation, painting a stark contrast to his public persona. The courtroom was tense as the not guilty plea was entered, and the world watches with bated breath. Legal experts predict a challenging and closely watched trial. May 5th will mark the beginning of a legal battle that could change everything for Diddy. Stay tuned for more updates as we follow this unfolding story. What will the future hold for the bad boy legend? Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and share to stay in the loop.